My name is Bilikis and you're welcome to my channel. If you're watching me for the first time, hit the red button and there's a notification bell right down there. Just click on it so that you get a notification each time I put up a video. And guess what? Today I'll be making a peplum dress with bell sleeves. And trust me, it is so easy. And if you're interested in our tools and online classes like the beginners class, the intermediate class, the advanced class, just get in touch with us, and anytime you can have the classes. I will put the link, that is the contact number, in the comment section below. I always do that in all of my videos. That will be the first comment you will see in the comment section. And just get in touch with us. So right now, let's go to our table and get started. Right now, all you need is your basic dress pattern. Like right here, I drafted mine directly on my fabric. I've made a detailed video on this and also how to make a basic sleeve. I will put the link in the description box below. And trust me, it was very detailed when I made that video. So the first thing is to determine the length of your dress. For instance, the length of my dress with the peplum inclusive is 42 inches. So all you have to do is to draft the upper part before the peplum. So like now, since I want it to be 42 and I want the peplum to be 7 inches. So what I will do is that when I remove 7 inches from 42, that will give me 35 inches. So the basic dress, the main dress, should be 35 inches. So this is what I have here. And this selvage, I'll just use it as seam allowance, but you should always trim off your selvage. So right now, for the basic dress, I already have my length to be 35, and then the peplum will be 7 inches. So the next thing now is to go over to how to cut the peplum. So all you have to do is to get your leftover fabric. Like here, I have my leftover fabric. And you should be folding it into 4 places. Let me open it up for you to, can you see that? I folded it this way, and then this way, and then this way. So I will be making use of these parts because it will be a full circle peplum. And you could decide to go for half circle. I've all made detailed video on the explanation of a full circle and also a half circle skirt, so you can use that for your peplum. So to get the calculation, the first thing you will do is this. On our basic dress, we have the seam allowance. Like after inserting our hip measurement -1 here, depending on what you want, how tapered you want it to be. So this is my 1 inch seam allowance for joining the sides. And for the back here, I have the zipper allowance. But remember, by the time you attach the sides and also the zipper, you fix in the zipper and then you fix everything up, you will be having only the main measurement here. Can you see that? So this is for the back, this is the zipper allowance. So what I will just do is to take my measuring tape and measure from the folded part here down to where the measurement stops and not the seam allowance. So all I have to do is this, measure from here down here. I have 10 inches. Remember, this is my side seam allowance. So, or better still, you could just join all your dress before cutting this out, but I just cut it all at once. So from this folded part down to this place and not the seam allowance. So here I have 10 inches. So I will be using 10 inches for my measurement. So since I have 10 inches now, I will take my calculator to calculate. So right now, I measure 10 inches here. And for my peplum, I want it to be a full circle. You could decide to have a half circle, but for this, I will be having a full circle. So all I have to do is to multiply this 10 inches by 4. Remember, it is on fold and I measure 10 inches. By the time I open it up, it will be 20. And that goes for the back. Remember, after the seam allowance is being sewn up, you also have 20 here. So that will make it 40 inches. So what I will just do is that I will just type 40 inches divided by 6.28. And whatever I get here will be my radius for the circle peplum and I'm about to cut. So here I have 6.36. You could round it to 6.4 or just make it 6.36. 3/6 exactly. So right now we'll go over to the fabric to cut it out. Folded my fabric. So the first thing is to insert the radius, which was 6.3. So I said we could round it to up to 6.4. So from this edge down here, 6.4 is here. So this is where I have my 6.4. So it will go around because I have to check if this fabric will be enough for the peplum. So now I said I want the peplum to be 7 inches, and then I will add half to it, which we use for the lower hemming allowance. So that is here. So that means my fabric is enough. So the next thing now is to take my 6.4 all down. So I will just keep marking it this way. Let me see that, and I'll keep going. Make sure your measuring tape is at the edge of the fabric. So here. So the next thing now is to join the circle carefully. After doing that, then I will add 6.4 to the 7.5. So that will be 13.9. So my 13.9 will be here. Let me see that. I already checked that earlier on. And I will take the measuring tape and keep rotating it. So now the next thing is to make it into a circle. Circular form. Can you see that? Gently. So now we have that. So right now, having done this, the next thing is to check, because you don't want it to be wider or smaller. If it's still smaller, it's better. If you're having less than 10, you could always trim it off. But if it is more, then there is a problem. So what we do now is to start checking. So looking at it, can you see I have 10 inches? So that means when I open it, it will be exactly 40. So another method you can use to do that is to cut half circle separately. You measure whatever this is, you divide it by 3.14. That's for half circle, and you do the same thing for this particular one. But I just cut everything together into one full circle. So by the time I join the side seam, the zipper, then it will fit exactly with the dress. So right now I will cut it off. So the next thing is to cut the radius. Be careful not to cut below the chop. So by the time I open it up, this is what I have. Can you see that was quite easy? So by the time I join all the side seam and the zipper, everything will fit into this peplum. Can you see that? That was pretty easy. So right now, let's go over to the bell sleeve. So right now for the bell sleeve, all you need is your basic sleeve. And then for the length, make sure it stops at wherever you want it to, your bell to start from. Like for instance, I want mine to just be a little bit above my elbow. You could decide to make it 3/4 and have your bell. You could even make your full sleeve and then add the bell to cover your fingers. Definitely, just anyhow you want it. So here, I want mine to be 13. Then half an inch will be for the sewing allowance. So all you have to do to get your bell, you could have a half circle bell sleeve, you could have it full. But I would just be having mine full. I want a full circle for it. So you don't need to start stressing yourself again on where to measure on your hand. All you have to do is to just measure on your fabric, since you have cut out your basic sleeve and wherever you want it to stop. So the next thing now is to just take your measuring tape. The seam allowance has to be inclusive because I will open one end. So I'll just measure it this way. So here I have 7.5 plus the side sewing allowance. So since I have 7.5, so when I open it, that will make it 15. So all I have to do now is to take my calculator and then, so what I will do is, okay, so since I measured 15 inches, so that will be 15 divided by 6.28. So here I have 2.38, so I could approximate it to 2.4. But in case you want a half circle bell sleeve, in case your fabric is not enough, what you will just do is that since we measured 15 inches, 7.5 times 2, that's 15. So you say 15 divided by 3.14. So 4.7 will be your radius, but because I'm having a full circle bell sleeve, so I will use 2.4. So right now I will take my fabric. This is the leftover fabric. Can you see that? I will fold it the same way I folded for the lower peplum. This way, can you see that? And then fold it up again. So I will just insert my radius of 2.4. So which is here. Make sure you are accurate and make sure you mark it gently, 2.4 all through. So having inserted your radius, you make a nice curve. Can you see that? So after doing that, you have to confirm. Remember when we measured it, we have 7.5 on both sides, which makes 15. So quarter of that will be 3 3/4. So we just take our measuring tape and measure. So can you see it? We have 3 3/4. So that means we are on track. And in case if you have problem with approximating, you can do, for instance, I use 2.4. If you just to be on the safer side, you can just use 2.3. If you know you might have any problem. Or better still, after measuring the same way we confirmed just now, maybe if you are below or above, you can always adjust it. If it is too much here, for instance, if you have 4, that means you have to go up. If you have less than that, you have to come down. So it is as easy as that. That is why before cutting, I will always check out my measurements. Since we are done with the radius, the next thing is to get the length of the bell sleeve. I want my bell sleeve to be 7 inches plus hemming allowance. So all I have to do is from here, or simply add it to the radius, but I will just make it this way. Whichever one is easier for you. So 7 inches will be here. Then I will keep rotating it. 7 inches. So the next thing is to make a nice curve. Let me see that. So I will turn it up. So remember, we measured with the seam allowance, so and it's open. So what I will do is that I will just open it this way and open up one side. So this saves you all the stress of calculating. So can you see? So right now we have to check if this basic sleeve matches with this. So what I will do now is to turn it this way, right side facing each other, and then I will start pinning. Can you see that? Can you see that? So can you see everything matches? So I will take my pin and start pinning it up. So can you see everything matches up? So the reason why I like that of including the seam allowance is this: in case you have any mistake, maybe it is excess or smaller, you can always adjust it easily. You can use this method also for the lower peplum on the basic dress. So right now this is what it looks like. Can you see this? So it's as easy as that. Before attaching, you can decide to hem it or after. So looking at it, can you see what it looks like? So the first thing is attach this part to your main dress, or better still, you could just finish it up depending on the method in which you are used to. So now here, this. For the side seam allowance, I left 1 inch. So all I have to do is to sew all through, including on the bell. So it's as easy as that. So by the time you open it up, you have your bell sleeve. Can you see that was pretty easy? So just on sewing tip, once we finish with the bell sleeve, and you can see that was pretty easy, so I will just go to the main dress. For instance, what I did was I pinned down the side seam allowance here and on this side. That is assuming we attach the side seam. And here for the back panel, I just pinned down the zipper allowance. So what I will do now is to take this peplum I cut out, and then I will check if it matches. So can you see? Then we'll start looking at it. Can you see that? And everything matches here. Can you see that? So after sewing the side seam allowance, the zipper allowance, everything matches with the peplum. So by the time you sew it up, you will have it attached this way. So can you see that was pretty easy? Just give it a try. If my tutorial has been helpful, give me a thumbs up, and do not forget to tell your friends about it, and then subscribe. So bye for now. I remain your girl Bilikis.